when she was talking, I was thinking, these voices that she's listening to, I feel like they're from, they are there, they're real. They're
Yeah.
not made up. They're from another parallel universe, which is
Totally.
what Ameed
Totally.
confirmed.
Yep.
What do you think is the best way that people can handle, situations where they have a psychotic episode?
Yeah. So, I've had some real world experiences with this because I worked in a psychiatric facility for some time and used some of my training, my dimensional training in there. And Ameed talked to me a lot about parallel universes and psychotic episodes, and especially things like multiple personalities and schizophrenia and these sort of things. These are dimensional illnesses, is what she often refers to them. And I think, the first thing is we've got to deal with the physicality of it, which means maybe medication or hospitalization to contain what's going on, right? Because often in these situations, people get out of control, right? So they no longer have control to be able to rein it back in or call it back in. That is this dimension. So first step is always to put people in a safe place, right? Whether that's medication or a hospital or some place. Then once they've got that space, that safety space, then we can start to deal with the parallel universe nature of this and restabilize them back into time and space, right? Into now,
How?
time and space.
How do you do that?
Okay, there's a couple of ways to do it. So,
Welcome to Galactic Guidance, the show that channels the wisdom of beings from higher realms. Join us as we tap into the cosmic consciousness and receive messages of clear guidance to help us navigate our spiritual evolution on planet Earth. So sit back, relax, and let's connect into the higher frequency. Hello, everybody. I am so excited about today's episode of Galactic Guidance because in today's episode, I'm going to be asking Ameed, who is a high dimensional being living on another planet, all about mental illness.
beautiful. What an amazing topic, hey? Mental
And the
illness.
way this came to me was one of my therapists at the clinic. She said, can you please ask Ameed about her take on mental illness? And so
Interesting.
let's do this, Marcus.
Let's do
And
this.
I'm
Let's get
excited.
into it. Welcome everyone. It's great to have everyone here. So, yes, let us drop in and connect in and see what happens, and you can ask the
And
question, and
exactly. And as Marcus goes into his state, I thought I would just let you know that Marcus didn't know about the topic before I just announced it just then. So that's what we're going to be doing from now on, is I'm going to be announcing what the topic's about for the episode. And that's the first that Marcus has heard of it, because he doesn't want his conscious mind to get involved in the answer from Ameed, because Marcus is actually an unconscious channel, which means he just completely surrenders and lets go. And Ameed comes in, and so he goes into this state of channeling this high dimensional being. And so I'm just going to remain quiet until Ameed comes in.
It is with the much of the gratitude that we are with you in this space, in this sacred of the moments, in this wonderful of the occasions, that you are here in the being of the listening, being of the sensing, being of the feeling into the messages that we wish for you to understand, and to be in the sharing of. Much joy, much of the welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for coming in again, Ameed. I'm so grateful for you. And so I was speaking to a therapist in my clinic last week, and she said, I really want Ameed's opinion on mental illness. So for instance, when somebody's having us listening, can hear voices. So an issue of psychosis, not just experiencing anxiety or experiencing depression, but there is actually a psychotic episode where they're hearing voices. My thought was, is it possible that these voices are in fact coming from another realm? What are these voices, and can you give us some information about psychotic episodes?
This is much of the topic we have been of speaking in other conversations. We have much been discussing the connection, the interdimensional nature of this, what you refer to as the psychotic episodes. This mental construct that you are journeying through in this of the theme park that you have been in the choosing of is very much of the anchoring into a consciousness awareness state. As you are in the transition in this moment of dimensional existences, going from what you consider of the one dimension to another dimension, what you have often spoken of as the raising of the frequency, or we like to discuss of the expansion into the next conscious awareness, the next frequency of awareness for your experience in this of the theme park. In the mental construct, when you are going through the disharmonic resonant fields into the next harmonic resonant frequency, which is the next expanded of the version of your experience, there are the potentials for connection into other dimensional realms. One of the dimensional constructs that you need to understand when you talk about this mental construct, you talk about this, what is the psychotic episode, is that in a parallel universe existence, there are multiple universes, multiple versions of your of the experience, and each of these parallel universe experiences are running in the same linear timescape, the same linear time frame, even though they are existing in a multi-dimensional, no-time existence. They are running parallel in your timescape. This is why we refer to them as the parallel universal timescapes. These parallel universes, when you are moving from one dimension into another dimension, there is a compression of time, space, and dimensional realities. This compression means that there's a grander opportunity for you to connect into another parallel universe version of the self. And when this is of the happening nature, you can be of the experiencing of the hearingness. You can be of the experiencing of the influence of that parallel existence of the energetic construct of who you are. This then leads to what you would see as the psychotic episode of the hearing of the voices, of the multiple of the personality existence, because these voices that of the hearing and these multiple of the personalities exist in another universal construct, in a parallel existence running in a similar timeline, a similar linear timescape as what you're existing in this moment. The problematic nature of this, and also the gift within this, is that you get to experience a grander dimensional existence. The negatives of this, or what you would consider, is that you get multiple conversations, and for some, especially those ones that have been affected by the plant medicine or the artificial chemical medicines, they can then not be of the discernment of the interaction of the voices, interaction of the dimensional nature. When you are in a stable state, you are more likely to be anchored into the dimensional reality that you have chosen to exist in. And therefore, the parallel universe existences do not have a disharmonic influence over the brainscape, over the mental influences, the mental timeline flow of your existence. So in this matter, you are often experiences multiple dimensions, multiple parallel universes are colliding into this universe. Again, when you are in the expansive nature that you are collectively in, you will experience a compression of dimensional realities so that you can then step into the next evolution of your experiences. It is much like of the breathing in and the breathing out of the universal construct, as the universe does of the breathing out, then the breathing in, there is a compression of the dimensional realms, of the parallel universes, of dimensional universes. And then as the breathing out is occurring, then it expands into the next dimension of the reality. This is why in this moment you are seeing a much of the interesting conversations. You are seeing much of the interesting beliefs that are happening. You are seeing much of the interesting feelings that are being expressed out on your planet. In this moment, you are existing in a number of parallel universe existences. This construct of the Earth plane in this moment is running on a number of parallel experiences. Some would be experiencing and be calling it the upside down in the worldness, and that there is a number of universes that are in the collision of the timescape in this moment. As you begin to step into the next harmonic resonance of existence, those parallel universes will once again expand out, and the connection between each one of them is much more of the difficultness. Therefore, they will be much more stabilized in the majority of the brainscapes that are experiencing this sensitivity in this moment. However, as you discussed, that some people are of the affectedness of the mental construct due to traumas, due to the chemical reactions, due to the plant medicine negative reactions. They can then be connected into these parallel universe existence, multidimensional time-space existence, and then they are in the destabilized state and have a very much of the difficult time to realign themselves into the one-time linear scape that they have chosen to experience this theme park in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've confirmed my what I was thinking, that it was about parallel universes, that the the messages are getting confused and coming in really quickly to these particular individuals. And so why do these particular individuals have this ability to sense and hear these voices from parallel universes when most of us don't?
There's much of the reasons that this is a much of the occurringness, and you will see more of this being in the happening space as you shift into the next harmonic vibration of reality. As the parallel universe, as the dimensional aspects of the universal reality start to compress themselves, there is more access points for this to be of the happening. But unless there is a destabilization in the mindscape construct, then these dimensional realms remain in the separateness and not be in the unforced connection and communication with the being itself. In most cases, in a stable state, and there is a much separation of these dimensional realms. But in some cases where there is of the trauma, whereas the chemical reaction, whereas there's the destabilized nature in the brainscape, then these universes begin to collapse in on themselves, and therefore the communication of the parallel existence of that experience becomes much more connected, becomes much more clearer to be in the hearing space, the sensing space, be more clearer in the feeling space. This then further does the destabilization of the human experience, and in your construct, you are then in a state of being much dangerous, maybe, or being in the hospital state, being having to be contained because of the nature of the fear response, because of the nature of the disconnection to what you would experience as the reality that you are harmonically choosing to journey in the throughness. This is what is the being in the happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what you're saying is that, there's a couple of ways. A, they're very caring and sensitive individuals. B, it could be induced by um, drug-induced psychosis, where it actually puts them in that different state. So how, once they, are hearing voices and that has happened, what is the best way for them to come back to their center? How do they ground in? Should they still take medication? Should they also do something else? What's the higher perspective here?
In the realignment, in the reconditioning of the mindscape of these individuals, you must understand that it is the stabilization of the mindscape, the stabilization of the heartscape, the stabilization of the gutscape that is much of the importance here. These are symptoms of destabilized nature of reality. Many things on the in this experience, in this time frame, is of the destabilized nature. There is many of the destabilized conversation. There's many of the destabilization of the relationship, the interconnection of other beings. There's very much of the destabilization in this moment, in this time. This is because you are shifting into other dimensions of reality. You are expanding into more of the fullness of who you are. You are moving into the next harmonic vibration, the next dimensional reality of existence. This is the state of the universe expanding. This is a state of the consciousness expanding on a universal level. You are playing your part in this journey, this expansion of the awareness state, of the consciousness state. And as part of the evolution of the universe, you are in the needing of to be in the movement into the next dimension of the reality scape. One of the symptoms of dimensional expansion, of transformation and the transition into the next dimensional reality of the existence is that you go into the disharmonic resonant pattern. This disharmonic resonant pattern is partly of the causing because of the dimensions and the parallel universes begin to compress in on themselves. And then as you step into the next harmonic resonant field, you begin to expand out. And these, the parallel universe, the dimensional universe, the dimensional timescapes begin to expand back out again and have more of the much of the separateness. So many more of the peoples, many more of your experiences will be to tap into and to hear these realities unfolding. It does not be of the meaningness that the people are of the craziness of the mentalness that you often talk about. So in the change, in the shifting of this, in the assisting people to come back into this dimensional time and space, this which is what you have been on the agreeing to when you came into this existence, that you ran down a thread of dimension, very much like being on a train track. When when we stood on the other side, we are looked at many different train tracks, and you chose one of these train tracks. And collectively, you all chose to be on this train track. You understood that this train track would go through tunnels into the darkness. It would come back out into the light, and that you would assist in the process of this train going from one side of a tunnel at one dimension through the darkness into another side of the tunnel into much more beautiful of the expansiveness. It'd be like being in one side of the tunnel is in the city, the smoggy and the detail and the busyness of the city. And the other side of the tunnel is a beautiful of the landscape, beautiful of the mountains and the trees and the snow and the lakes and the much of the beautifulness. This you would consider a much more harmonic image, whereas in the cityscape you would see as a much less harmonic image. Your journey on the train track is to go into the tunnel, to go into the darkness state. This is the disharmonic resonant state, so that you can come out into a much more harmonic resonant state. However, as you journey on this, there is many of the train tracks, and these train tracks begin to start to come closer together, and depending on how stable you can remain in the tunnel aspect will depend on how much of the train tracks start to merge together, and then you have the ability to jump train tracks and to be in other train tracks, which could in potentiality lead you to other outcomes, other dimensional realm outcomes. This is when you see people in the destabilized mental state of the psychosis state. They are now living on a totally different train track, and their reality is much of the reality for them, but not in your reality because you are in the different of the train track. And this make much of the sense to you. So we have to assist, or you have to be in the assisting of people stabilizing, coming back to the train track that was once of the agreement to be in. And you have to help them to understand that when the stabilization happens, the other train tracks will begin to move apart. They will not be of the connected nature like they are in the nowness. So there's a much to be in the process of at many of the levels, at the physical level, just being stabilizing the physicality, stabilizing, removing any of the toxic nature that has been of the creation of this experience. There is much in the emotional state that then also needs to be of the stabilization. Many of this experience has come from the traumas that have been inflicted on that of the person. You must be in the clearing and the stabilizing of the traumatic nature of their experience. Then is much in the energetic nature to be then stabilize the resonant patterns, the frequencies that this of the person is vibrating at, to restabilize this of the state. Sometimes in the chemical medications that you speak of can help give the space to restabilize, but you must be of the carefulness not to be of the prolongedness and not be dealing with both the emotional state and the energetic state. You must be in the stabilization of the resonant pattern. In some of the cases, the medication that you speak of gives the being a space to be able to find the restabilized nature. Then they can be of the releasing of these chemical assistance patterns that provide the space to see the stabilized nature.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so basically what they need is to be stabilized, and that may mean that they still need to take their antipsychotic medication to attain that stabilized state and to reconnect with the stability of their center. And then they need to energetically center themselves so that they can stay centered. And so that makes sense to me. So even though these psychotic episodes are from parallel universes and them hooking into these parallel universes, and as you said, it's like all these train tracks coming together, what they need to do is sort of center themselves, stabilize, for them to move on. And more of these episodes will be occurring on the earth plane, from what you've said, because of the destabilization of the nature that we're actually going through at the moment in terms of humanity, where this is what we're going through. So more and more of these episodes will occur across the globe. And people need to know that it's not a mental illness. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just hooking into parallel universes. And it's all about rediscovering and refinding their center. Am I right with that
Much of the
summary?
restabilizing, be in the stable nature of the resonant frequency. And then they can be of the nature of defining which of the resonant frequencies are and which of the timelines in the dimensions they are coming from. So there's much importance to be in the stable nature of the experience so that you can disconnect or define the parallel universe existences that are running in the same linear timeline space, but in a different frequency, a different resonant pattern. These people can be much of the assisted, be much of the help. Remember that the medication does not necessarily split the parallel experiences, but rather just numbs the connection. that they can no
Mm-hmm.
longer hear these experiences. It does not be of the meaning that the experiences have of the disappeared. This is
Mm-hmm.
why it's much of the difficult for some of these beings to be offered them what you call a medication. You need to help them to be of the stable nature. You need to help them to understand that this is not the dysfunction of the mental construct. This is not necessarily a physical deconstruction of the mental concept or the brain aspects. This is much more a dimensional energetic issue that is playing out. And the parallel universes, as you understand, is what is being in the compression and being connected to, like we speak of in the train tracks. Here we can help very much so be in the stable nature, be able to separate the parallel universe existence by clearing the system, by resetting and reactivating the system in a stable resonant field. There is much in frequencies that can assist this process, as much as the physicality, as much as the emotionality, but there is a much in the frequencies that can assist this process to assist the stabilizing in this time space and then separating the other parallel universe existences that are in the compression nature.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So before we bring Marcus on to discuss these topics, I've got this call, Ameed, to ask you one final question. And I was wondering whether you have something of a personal nature that's specific to me to tell me. Just to
Beautiful.
finish off in terms of the
Yeah,
conversation for today, because the question was about psychosis,
it's a big
and
question.
it's a big question because I was interviewing a lady about the shame of psychosis on
Right.
my other podcast, The Shame Game.
Okay.
And when she was talking, I was thinking, these voices that she's listening to, I feel like they are there, they're real.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not made up. They're from another parallel universe, which is
Totally.
what Ameed
Totally.
confirmed.
Yep.
Um, what do you think is the best way that people can handle, situations where they have a psychotic episode?
Yeah. So, I've had some real world experiences with this because I worked in a psychiatric facility for some time and used some of my training, my dimensional training in there. And Ameed talked to me a lot about parallel universes and psychotic episodes, and especially things like multiple personalities and schizophrenia and these sort of things. These are dimensional illnesses, is what she often refers to them. And I think, the first thing is we've got to deal with the physicality of it, which means maybe medication or hospitalization
Mm.
to contain what's going on, right? Because often in these situations, people get out of control, right? So they no longer have control to be able to rein it back in or call it back in. That is this dimension. So first step is always to put people in a safe place, right? Whether that's medication or a hospital or some place. Then once they've got that space, that safety space, then we can start to deal with the parallel universe nature of this and restabilize them back into time and space, right? Into now,
How?
time and space.
How do you do that?
Okay, there's a couple of ways to do it. So obviously we have a whole training on these sort of things called the activator training, and we actually work with parallel universes and dimensional universes. And so there's actually some protocols to help people to restabilize themselves. So that's one option. Frequencies and vibrations, so resonant frequencies are another thing that we work with. So playing specific frequencies can help restabilize them back into this dimensional reality. That's another way to do it. It's going to depend, I'm sure hypnotherapy can help with this, with the understanding that it's a parallel universe that you're trying to separate away from them, right? Knowing that as we move through time and space, there is a contraction and breathing in and breathing out of the universe, and as we move dimensions, we move into disharmonic resonant patterns before we move into harmonic. In the disharmonic resonant patterns, it's easier for the compression to happen of multidimensional and parallel universe existences. So frequencies can help separate that by stabilizing people into this frequency. Because what we've got to understand is each parallel universe, each dimensional realm is contained within a resonant pattern or a resonant
Mm.
frequency.
It feels like, Marcus, this is a really big answer.
It's
And
yeah,
I think the
it's
best thing to do with this is with, the activator training that you were talking about, is we'll
yeah,
have the link in the show notes so
yeah,
that, if this resonates with someone and you have experienced these kind of episodes and you would
totally,
like, and you are in a stable state now,
yeah,
to
yeah,
connect in with Marcus with the activator training, and because
yeah,
it
or at
doesn't
least
feel
have
like
it
it's an
with an
answer
activator.
that,
It's a
yeah,
tricky answer, right? And it's
yeah,
not many people work with it. It's a very finite, not many people understand it at this level, and not many people work with it. And
yeah.
that's the issue, right? So finding someone's hard. So yeah, they can definitely connect in with an
I think
activator and
that's
get
the best
assessed,
thing to
and
do.
that sort of stuff can help. But like you said, it's important that they get into a semi-stable space, which is they're safe, they're protected, they're not in the absolute psychosis and manicness that can come, that they are in a semi-stable space, and then we can, they can be worked with to assist fully stabilizing the back, so then they can get off medication if that's the case or they want to. And there's ability to do various things. Not that I would obviously suggest people go off medication. They need to speak to psychiatrists and whoever their primary healthcare provider is. Disclaimer. But the opportunity certainly is to become stable and to be able to be in a state where all sorts of things could be reduced or changed or altered or whatever might be able to happen. So, yeah. And we've had lots of
Awesome.
success bringing people back from multiple personalities, from the schizophrenic type, situations. And yeah.
Love it.
So,
Wow, we had some big
wow,
topics
what an
today.
episode.
So,
Whew.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
big one.
yeah.
It was very, very big today.
It
So
was.
incredible. A couple
Yay.
of really big topics. We hope you enjoyed it. And
Yes.
please subscribe, share it with your friends. And
Yes.
yay. Thank you, Ameed, and thank you, Marcus.
No worries. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and thank you, Eleni, for facilitating this process. Really appreciate it. See you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.